Good morning and welcome to Tackett's House of Disaster. I don't know what you want to call it these days. It's a mess. It's a gigantic mess. And the house is completely packed full of boxes. There's stuff everywhere. It's moving. It sucks. There's no easy way around it. So let's see what we can do. Hold on, let me set this down. Let's see what we can do with this. Wow. Well, as you can see, space is at a premium right now. So let's see if we can consolidate and I don't know. Wow. Okay, let's start here. So some of you might remember Sarah, when she was in Arizona by herself, she picked this up. This is an engine and transmission that came out of her boss's square body. Yes, her boss is kind of a car guy. He's a owner of a company. He's a big boss guy type of person. Anyways, he, I believe it's an early 80s, 82 to 3, 84, 80, early 80s square body. It was carbureted, so it's before the 2 injector. So it's a 350. This is what I know. It's a running and driving 350 and a 400. It had a carburetor on it. It was complete. Then they pulled this out. They gave it. He gave it to Sarah. He said, "Sarah, come and get it. I know you guys do stuff with cars. Why don't you come get it?" So she went and picked this up. And it was done at a shop in Arizona. They LS swapped it. So they LS swapped his square body. So this is complete. It's got pulleys and brackets and alternator, and it had a carburetor, like I said. It was an Edelbrock. It was I think an Edelbrock 600. I let Anthony have it. I don't want it. I don't like Edelbrocks and I don't like spread bores. So I let Anthony have it. So we got to do something with this. It's leaking oil all over the floor. It's taking up a big old chunk of space right here. So let's dig into this. Let's see what we got. Let's see how Sarah did. What do we think? Sarah went and picked this up. Let's see how she did. First of all, I need to move some motorcycles and stuff. I need that cherry picker back there. We got to get this thing up, get it apart, and get it on an engine stand. Then we can see what we're working with. So let me finagle that cherry picker out of here. First of all, let me give you a quick update on Tennessee. It's been great. The weather's getting a little cold already. It's getting down in the 20. Oliver's here. Can you hear him? Can you hear him? He's in there crying. Okay. I gotta go take care of him. But so the guy that sold me this house, he lives like a mile up the road, and he comes and checks on me all the time. And he's been awesome, man. Like, he came down here day before yesterday, and he mowed my lawn for me, like all of it. Like, that's my yard. It goes all the way out there, all the way up to the road, all the way out to that tree row, all the way back to that tree row. and then down like far, and then out the other side, like over here, all the way back there. We're talking acres, okay? He showed up day before yesterday and mowed my lawn for me just because he's a nice guy, because that's what they do here. It's really crazy. My neighbors helped me unload my U-Haul. I asked for help and they showed up. And last weekend they just helped me move all the heavy furniture and stuff. Just awesome people, man. Tennessee is, when they say that, you know, Southern hospitality is it's real. Like it's no joke. Like, who would show up and mow the lawn for me? Because I don't have a lawnmower yet. I need a riding lawnmower, and I don't have one, and I don't have a place to put one, even if I did have one. So he showed up and did it. And he wouldn't take any payment, nothing. I said, I owe you how much? He would not take anything. So that's just the way they are here. So anyways, let me grab that cherry picker and we'll get started. Okay, so first things first. This came from a shop. They pulled it out at a shop, right? I think most people know, like, step one, when you pull an engine and transmission, step one, drain the fluids. Like, drain the fluid. This thing's full of oil and tranny fluid. It's full. It made a mess in the U-Haul, made a mess in the back of the truck. It's making a mess on the garage floor. Like, this is, come on. Step one, guys, drain the fluids. Okay, now, at a glance, now I haven't touched this thing. I didn't touch the truck. I haven't touched this thing. Sarah went and picked it up like you saw in the video. Hopefully you saw in the video. And we haven't touched it. So I know about as much about this as you do at this point. Came out of a square body, that's all I know. Obviously, it's a Turbo 400, short nose, bolt-in yoke. Somebody has a deep pan on it. Somebody put a deep pan on it. Okay, that's good. It wasn't a full-size truck, long bed, square body. So obviously two-wheel drive. Looks like we got a complete HEI distributor. That's good. Looks like the cap and rotor is fairly new. So that's good. Now, like I said, it had an Edelbrock carb on it. Stock intake. It's got all the preheater tube stuff, smog stuff on it. And right off the bat, I noticed that it's painted black. And if I get my flashlight to work, I come over here and I look, and right off the bat, I see Hecho En Mexico and the part number, the casting number. So, I mean, I want to look up those numbers. But right off the bat, I can tell you, because it's Hecho En Mexico, that this is not an original engine. This engine's been replaced. These engines are most likely over-the-counter, Target Master, GM Goodwrench, like replacement engine. These were sold in the 80s and 90s, I think, over-the-counter at like your parts counter, Chevy dealerships, GMC dealerships. These are, like I said, made in Mexico, and there's a lot of back and forth about these engines. So let's get this transmission off. We'll get it up on an engine stand, and we'll talk about it some more. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people going back and forth. If you do a lot of searches online, go to the forums, you're gonna see a lot of people talking about these engines. And let's see what we think. Transmission separated, engine on a stand. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. You know, this is gonna work out great. I mean, a short nose turbo 400, it's gonna come in handy. Several of our vehicles out here have 400s in them. And if you saw the Down and Dirty videos, where is Down and Dirty? back there. Down and Dirty has a 400 in it that likes to shift by itself. Even if you're in first gear, it shifts all the way to third gear by the 60-foot mark. So it's a stock 400. It doesn't have a shift kit or anything in it. So I got one right there and I got one right here. So one of those is going to get rebuilt and probably we'll stick it in Down and Dirty. Because if Down and Dirty had a good transmission with a good shift kit in it, I mean, nothing fancy. It doesn't need like a, trans brake and reverse valve bodies and all that. It's just a good rebuilt shift kit, good clutches, manual valve body. Then that thing would have probably gone 12s right out of the box. But anyways, so it's good to have an extra 400 laying around. Get it rebuilt, get it back, swap it out and Down and Dirty. So that's a future project. So anyways, short nose, turbo 400s always come in handy. Somebody always needs one. So I'm liking that. We're good there. But then check this out. Back here, when I separated it, you look back in here and it's clean. It's really clean. I like the brass freeze plugs. That's good. It looks clean. There's not a bunch of oil all in there, like the rear main's leaking or something. So I'm liking that. Brass freeze plugs, I like that. It's got an oil cooler on it. So it had an external oil cooler on it. So that's good. That tells me that this thing probably, the bearings and stuff are probably happy. That's a good sign. So the one thing I noticed right off the bat, though, is when you look at these cylinder heads, if you see your casting kind of goes like this, in between the head bolts, you see how it goes up and then back down. See, if your casting on your cylinder heads look like that, these are later model heads. Most likely going to be open chambered, 76 cc's, very low compression. This engine was probably making about 190 horsepower. It's going to be about 8-to-1 compression. This is I'm pretty positive, judging by this. I haven't ran those numbers yet. We can do that real quick. We can Google those numbers. But being that I see the Hecho En Mexico, I see the heads, there's a good chance, we don't know yet, there's a good chance this is a 4-volt main. There's a good chance that it's never been bored. So it could be a virgin, standard 4-volt, 4-inch, 4-volt main, 350 block. So if that's the case, then this is a pretty good score here. And we got to be pretty thankful for Sarah's boss for giving it to us. So even though it only made about 180, 190 horsepower, like on a good day, these blocks are pretty decent. Like there's a lot of back and forth online, and we'll get into that in a minute. I want to run those numbers first. Let's do that. Let's see if it'll tell us anything else. I'm kind of sort of betting this might be a 4-volt main. Let's find out. I'm going to Google it real quick. Well, unfortunately, if you run that number, it does come back as like a GM Goodwrench Target Master type over-the-counter engine. The other confirmation is there's no numbers on the pad. Where's my flashlight? The pad down here is blank. The one right behind the water pump bolts. Usually that would have like your VIN number. If you wanted to search that, like when people say they have a numbers matching car, they're talking about that engine code on the front of the block should match the VIN number on the car. Well, this one doesn't have it. So that tells me for sure this engine never left the factory in a vehicle. This was sold over the counter. Probably at a parts counter, whatever. That's fine. So we know, well, I mean, the truck wasn't that old. It was an 84, 83, 84. So, I mean, the original engine probably lasted, I don't know, 10, 12, 14, 15 years maybe. Somebody maybe put this engine in maybe in the 90s, late 90s, possibly. So, I mean, how many miles could possibly be on this thing? We don't know. But let's drain the fluid out of it and flip it over. I'm kind of curious to see if it's a 4-volt main or not. The oil's pretty black. Nothing in it though, no metal shavings or nothing. But it's really thick too, like 2050. And it smells rich. Like there's a lot of fuel in it. So there might have been some carburetor issues, possibly. But so far, nothing, no red flags. While that's draining, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this distributor. The wires, cap, and rotor look pretty new. So that's good. It's a good HEI. We'll definitely use that. Okay, distributor's out. Flipping it over. I'm gonna pull this pan. I'm gonna pull this oil cooler. Get the pan off, and then we'll find out if it's a 4-volt main or not. Okay, here goes nothing. Is it a 2-volt or a 4-volt? You're gonna see the same time I'm gonna see. If I can do this one hand. Oh, guess what? Ha ha! 4-volt main. Hell yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'll take it. Looks pretty clean inside. Really? Look down at those pistons. Connecting rods. I mean, it looks pretty clean in here. It's not looking too bad at all. Yeah. What's this look like? Not bad. I've seen way worse, put it that way. Well, I'm looking around and I'm seeing things like, see that number 6 on the connecting rod? I have not disassembled a lot of Target Master engines, but I'm pretty sure that's not factory. Somebody etched that at like a machine shop or somebody. This I'm thinking this engine's been rebuilt. So that's kind of odd. I don't know what, we got to get a head off, I think, and look at the bore and see if it's standard or not. That'll tell us, you know, if it's been bored 30 over or something. But it's kind of looking like these rods and stuff. I don't know. This looks aftermarket, like a machine shop did it. It's been balanced, and it doesn't look factory. So I'm not really sure. Like I said, I haven't done too many of these Target Master engines, but I'm pretty sure they were not etched like that. So I guess let's flip it back over, and we got to pull the top. I want to check that next. I mean, I could pull a main cap, look at the bearings, see if they're standard. Maybe we'll do that too. We could do a main cap real quick, and that'll tell us. Okay, I don't even know what just happened. This thing, I decided to hold off on the bearings. I didn't want to disturb the bearings just yet. And I knew the top end's got to come off anyways. So I started pulling the top end. I pulled this valve cover. You're not going to believe what's under here. I pulled this valve cover, and somebody has done screw and studs and guide plates. It's got screw and studs and guide plates in this motor. Are you kidding me? Somebody did that to these heads. I don't know why you would spend that kind of money on these heads. They're not really worth spending that kind of money on. Wow. These are Hecho En Mexico. These are the later light castings, you know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know why you would spend that kind of money on these heads. But look how clean it is in here. It's really clean. There can't be that many miles on this thing. There just can't be. But somebody, I mean, I don't think that's factory for the Target Master motor. I'm starting to think that this thing has, the truck, whatever this truck was a 80 whatever 83 84 square body, right? Obviously the original motor didn't last. Somebody bought a GM crate engine, put it in, and then somebody rebuilt the GM crate engine at some point, and now it's been LS swapped. So that poor truck has had several engines in and out of it, I think, at this point. But anyways, yeah, it's screw and studs and guide plates. That's not what I was expecting, but all right. Let me finish pulling this intake off, and then we'll get the heads off. Now I want to see what pistons are in it. Okay, the intake manifold is off, and here's what I found. So the previous owner told Sarah that it burned oil a little bit. Well, check this out. These bolts here in the center, like the outside bolts, when I took the intake manifold off, the outside bolts were they were torqued to like 90 foot-pounds. And these middle bolts, I took them out with my fingers. Like they were so loose. And look at the gasket. You can see it's soaked with oil. It's just literally soaked with oil. And then you look down here, this port, it's soaked with oil. So that's your exhaust crossover. And like I said, these bolts were loose and both sides are soaking wet. The gaskets are soaking wet. I don't understand why it was so tight on the outsides and so loose on the insides, but this thing was, he said it was burning oil. I believe it. I think it was getting in there. You can definitely see that gasket and that port is soaked. So I'm wondering if it was, he was a little bit concerned. He was having carburetor issues too, and I smell the fuel in the oil, and I'm looking at this oil here. You know, he's really happy with his LS swap, but I'm wondering if we would have just resealed the intake and maybe checked out the carburetor, there may not be anything wrong with this engine. Like it's really clean in here, like super clean. There can't be that many miles on this thing. I'm wondering if it was just intake manifold gaskets and carburetor issue. Either way, I don't know. Let's go ahead and keep going. I want to pull the heads, look at the pistons. Now I was fully expecting this thing to be a bone stock Target Master dished pistons. This thing should have dished pistons with 4 valve reliefs. So like it should be like 8 1/4 to 1 compression. Like it should be really low. Those should be open chambered heads, like 72, 76 cc open chambered heads. The pistons should be dished 4 valve reliefs. We're talking like 8 1/4 to 1 compression. So I'm curious to see what it is and take a look. I wonder if I could see I can't see it just yet. I was wondering if I could look down in there and see if it's got a double roller timing chain or anything like that. I obviously this thing's been to the machine shop just by looking at the connecting rods and the screw and studs and guide plates. Like somebody's been into this. I don't know where, when, or who, but I don't know. Just sometimes it's fun to take the stuff apart and just try to piece it together, try to see its history and learn what's going on with it. But there might not be anything wrong with this engine. I mean, at all. So I guess the next step is pull the heads and then the pistons will tell us something. Well, guess what? They're flat tops. They're flat top pistons. They're not dished. So that's pretty awesome. Okay. So it's got a lot more than 8-to-1 compression. Let me see if I can clean one of these off. I need to rotate this. We're not on top dead center. We're down a little bit. Maybe if I can get this one up to top, clean it off a little bit with a little bit of a wire brush and some brake clean. I'm looking for numbers. I want to see if there's any part numbers. See if it says 30 over or what. If not, I'll just measure it. But wow, there's not really a cylinder ledge. I mean, I feel carbon. There's carbon there, but it doesn't feel like it has a whole lot of cylinder ledge. You know, the ridge at the top. Wow, okay. And these are definitely hardened push rods. You got out for the for guide plates. You got to run hardened steel push rods. So I mean, somebody spent some money on this. I'm really kind of shocked. I wasn't expecting this. But anyway, I just got one head off and that's what I found. So let's clean it off and see if we see any numbers. Well, it looks like it's 30 over. I mean, I can't get a good reading on it because of the carbon in the top of the cylinder, but right there. Yeah, it's 30. So it's 30 over. So it's been rebuilt at least once. And I suspected that when I saw the writing on the connecting rods. But look at these cylinders. Look at the cylinder. You can see the crosshatch still. Wow. Okay. Well, so it's been rebuilt. I was gonna try and clean this piston off, but I can't get to there's one of these is full of chemicals, but I can't get to it right now. So anyway, I seriously don't see anything wrong with this engine. So wow. Okay. Now these are flat top pistons, but these are really open chamber heads. Really, really open chamber heads. So what I'd like to do is I don't know, I'm kicking around some ideas. But let me before I spoil it, let me clean up a little bit and we'll talk about it. Well, curiosity is getting the best of me. I had to keep going. Pull the water pump off, pull the harmonic balancer, pull the timing chain cover. It's got a newer style chain on it, but it's not a double roller, it's a single. And it's got some slop to it. It's not great. I've seen worse though. You know, those phenolic plastic, you know, stock style ones, they get real sloppy. But that's pretty normal, I guess. So I'm not too concerned with that. I kind of want to pull the cam out and see if it's got a cam in it now. And then I'll probably clean up and finish up. But I just had to find out, you know what I mean? Like, let's pull this cam out and see exactly what it is. Well, it's definitely not the original cam. I don't know if you can see it. There's probably no way you're gonna be able to read it. But it says Crower, right up here, it says Crower Beast cam. Crower Beast. And then it says RV. So that is definitely not the original cam. So I don't know. I have to look up the specs on it. If I can figure out the specs on it, then maybe we keep it, maybe we run it. I don't know. The lifters, I kept the lifters in order so I can put them right back where they go, just in case I want to keep it or not. I don't know. But that's definitely not original. Well, I went ahead and stuck the cam back in and put all the lifters back in the same place they came out of, because it's a flat type of cam. You know, they're seated, that lobe is seated to that lifter, so you can't mix them around or nothing. So because I don't know if I'm going to use it or not. There's some, we got to talk about this now. First of all, let's discuss this thing first. Hecho En Mexico. A lot of people, they see that and they go, nope, I don't want it. Well, is it a good block? Is it a bad block? Do we know? Who knows? Some people, especially online, you go on the forums, you'll find a million people will say they're junk, don't use it. And a million people will say, no, they're really good. They have really high nickel and they're really thick and they're good castings. Some people will say they're terrible castings, don't use it. So it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't know. The real answer is I don't think anybody does. And if they say they do, they're probably lying, because unless you cut a chunk of this off and send it in and get metallurgy tested, you're not going to know the actual content of the tin and the nickel and whatever, unless you've done a metallurgy test. And you probably need to do a baseline. You need to get a baseline, so you'd have to do several. You can't just do one. You'd have to do several of these Hecho En Mexico blocks. You'd have to do several different years. You'd have to check them all and then get a baseline and then compare it to your old 010 blocks and stuff like that. Are you really going to take and get samples of several different years and compare them, like, to get a real answer? And the answer is no, you're not. Is it thicker? I don't know. You could cut it in half and check it, or get them sonic tested. Again, you can't just do one. You'd have to do several, to get a baseline to compare. So is it thicker? I don't know. Is it have less nickel or more nickel? I don't know. Are we going to cut it up and send it in to get metallurgy tested and compare it to one of my old 010 blocks and see which one has more nickel? No, we're not doing that. And nobody has. Anybody who says they know, do they really? I will tell you this. The flashing, they're a little bit uglier. These blocks are kind of ugly. You can tell when you look at, like, the holes around the edges is very jagged. There's just a lot of flashing. Like, the casting is not as pretty. I will tell you that. If you look at an old 010 block, these areas are much more cleaner. The bolt holes, this raised area goes all the way back. Like, it's not, you don't have this recessed spot where your bolt holes are and stuff. So does that make a difference? I don't know. Is this block junk? I don't know. What else? Oh, the dipsticks. I don't really like the dipsticks on these. They're universal, so they have one on both sides. And my neighbor just drove by in a tractor. You got to be careful when you get an oil pan gasket. Otherwise, they will leak pretty bad. So it has the cutout for both sides. So that's little things like that you got to watch out for. I don't know. I can tell you this. My buddy Jason ran one of these many years ago. Look at the flashing. This is what I'm talking about with the flashing. Like, the casting is kind of rough in some spots that you would not see on an 010 block. But I can tell you this. My buddy Jason ran one for years. his car ran 11s, and he drove it like daily on the street, and he beat the dog poop out of it, and it was fine. My buddy Jay has one. Same thing. Like it is what it is. If you're looking for a 4-bolt main block, and you come across one of these, I wouldn't pass it up. I mean, I would have it checked out. It depends on what you're building it for. If you're trying to go for big time horsepower, you're going to want to have it checked out. I've heard rumors that there's a lot of core shift. The cores are not exactly centered on a lot of these. Maybe their quality control wasn't as good in Mexico. I don't know. But that's true with any block, though. I've had 010 blocks and stuff that had core shift. I put it together, and then, you know what I mean, you go to check the cam, or you go to check the crank, and the block has got some warp to it. So that could be true with your 010s too. So I don't know. The answer is I don't know. What do you guys do? If you guys used them, some of you guys have built a lot of motors and worked in machine shops and stuff. What's your experience? Do we have any real world experience? Comment. Let's talk about it. I don't know. I'm happy because we got this engine for free. We got the engine and transmission for free. We spent $0 on it. You know, it was donated to us by Sarah's boss, and we really appreciate it. And we're gonna put it to good use. And we'll talk about that next. Okay, so as of right now, this engine and transmission was donated to us. So $0 in it as of right now. I think it would be fun to see what we could do with this engine, and what can we get out of this engine for as little as possible, you know? So I think the heads got to go. The heads, they're smog heads. They're open chambered garbage. So I have a set of 041s. They are 64 cc's. I've got a set of 20216 stainless steel valves I was going to put in them. So what if we put a set of 20216 stainless steel valves in a set of 041 heads with 64 cc chambers, and we bolt them on here? That's going to give us like 10-to-1 compression, or just under 10-to-1 compression. Maybe we take that cam out, put like I don't know. I had in high school I had a Isky Mega 272. You know what I mean? 272 Isky Mega, maybe a Performer RPM manifold. I got a 650 double pumper Holly. That would be a nice little motor. I mean, that would be a really nice little motor. What do you think about that? What do you think about that combo? Like a 270 cam, Performer RPM, 650 carb on it, be just under 10-to-1 compression. Any guesses? Any guesses what that thing would make? Then the question is, what do we do with it? Look at the mess I have. I made a mess. Anyways, we could get that thing cleaned up, throw some gaskets at it, put new heads on it, maybe a cam swap, maybe, or we leave that cam in there. It's already broke in. It's a flat tablet cam. You know how that goes. It's a flat tablet cam that's already broke in. So that's you got to think about that. Put a Performer RPM manifold on it, and then I've been thinking about this, and we talked about it, Sarah and I. We would kind of like to find a C10 truck. Find a C10 truck, and you know, something that's been sitting a while, doesn't run, maybe doesn't have an engine and tranny, right? And we stick this in it, and we get it running. And we get it running and driving for as cheap as possible. You know, we can get that, man. I think we can snazz this thing up pretty good. I got enough parts laying around. We could throw some chrome on it and some aluminum on it, make it shiny, nice pulleys on it and stuff. Clean it up, gaskets and stuff, shoot some paint on it, you know, make it nice. I think it's got no miles on it. Like, you can still see the crosshatch on the cylinders. So I'm saying put a decent set of heads on it, get the compression ratio up. I think we'd have something here. Now, what if we could find ourselves a little C10 truck, not running, been sitting a while. We bring that home, and maybe we stick this engine and tranny in it. I think it'd be fun, a little project, and we flip it. You know, get it running, sell it, you know. Or maybe I just get this running and driving, and we sell it, you know. I'm trying to clear up some space. I'm trying to make content. I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to do what I can with limited space and time and money. Right now I have 2 mortgage payments, remember? So money is a little tight right now. So I don't know, a flip project would be good. Something we get running and driving. Maybe we get Sarah involved. Since this is Sarah's engine, Sarah's boss gave it to her, Sarah's engine. Maybe we make Sarah get out here and clean it up and get it. We can get it together. Maybe we put it together for as cheap as possible. Put it on the test stand. I got that test stand over there. We could fire it up, get it running, see how it sounds. Maybe we sell it. Maybe we find a truck or something to put it in, you know, and then we sell that. I don't know. So what would you guys like to see? What do you guys think about this little combo? As of right now, it has cost me nothing. So what can we do with it? What do you think we can get out of it? How much horsepower do you think we can get out of this with a set of decent heads, a cam, a good intake? Let's get some headers on it too, of course. And, you know, what do you think we have here? Anyway, we could hear it. We could get it running, put it on the test stand. We could do that and go from there. So, you know, and I think Sarah should get out here and do it too, you know. So, anyways, that's going to do it for this week. I got a mess to clean up, and it's almost dinner time. It does get dark here kind of early. So, and then back to work tomorrow. So, anyways, sorry about last week. We did not post a video last week because we were working on the house. Nothing but boxes everywhere. You know what I mean? Unloading the U-Haul and tripping over boxes and stuff. I didn't film a video. So, I'm sorry about last week. I apologize. Anyways, that'll do it for this week. We really appreciate y'all sticking with us. I'm sorry. The move and everything has been crazy for us, but we appreciate y'all sticking with us. We appreciate the support. Please hit like, hit comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Yeah, give me a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want to see. What should we do with it? What is your opinion? Have you used a Hecho En Mexico motor? What was your experience? Did it last? Anyways, till next time. See ya.